Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. Let's see, to interact with us, we love seeing you every Thursday night live at 9:30 Eastern over in Facebook land, YouTube land, wherever those chats like to blow up. Lots of good discussions in there. And if you miss us live, you can always catch the replay or follow us along at home or in the car on your favorite podcasting app after that. So thanks for participating. Thanks for being part of this great community. Let's see, you know me. My name is John Ruark. I'm a past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Next up for his introduction, Robert Johnson. Hey, Robert.
There you are. Hey, Robert Johnson, past master, Waukegan Lodge, number 78 in Waukegan, Illinois, and the current sitting secretary of, just freshly installed as of last night, my third term as secretary for Space Novum 1183, the premier education lodge in the state of Illinois. Good to be with you guys.
Good to have you. Is that woo-worthy, Joe?
To be secretary year after year, it is very woo. Right on. Yeah.
It's okay.
But the woos are very
good
subdued
gig.
tonight because I know it's coming tomorrow. So, yeah. Subdued woos. Yes.
And Joe Martinez. How are you, Joe?
Hello, Joe Martinez. I am still Worshipful Master of Manasseh Lodge number 182. Tomorrow, we have our annual communication. And I'll let y'all know how it goes next week. But as of right now, I am still the Worshipful Master of Manasseh Lodge 182.
So you have an election.
We're to be having an election tomorrow, yes.
Not an annual communication.
Plan. Well, it's both. Yes.
True.
We'll talk about that, and we'll explain to you why you're wrong tonight.
Please do.
On the Masonic Roundtable. Boom.
But before you do, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons who support the show. You guys are awesome and rock extra hard. If you want to help support the show, keep us going for many, many years to come, head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable and chat with us every day of the week, not just on Thursdays. Every day. It's good stuff. Joe.
Yes.
Do we have some sort of secret Santa thing going on?
We do.
Ooh.
I hope you have a little. You got
Say
a thing
more.
to throw up there? You got the thing? Throw the thing. Find the thing.
It's low tech, but it's here.
Put up the thing. Yes.
There's the thing.
Yes. That is an impressive thing. So, PowerPoint guy. So, again, we are going to be doing our TMR Secret Santa 2022. So, this is is this our third one, John?
I believe it is.
Yeah, third one. I participated in the previous ones, and super much fun. Got to meet some fantastic brothers. I still have some of my wonderful gifts here that I got the first year from a wonderful brother. So you get to meet new people, share stuff with them, talk to them, get awesome, awesome gifts. This is one of the gifts I got for my Secret Santa, handmade. For drinking and putting things in. Ooh. It's got leather. It's got a mason jar. It's got all the magic. No green beans. So all good things. But yeah, so Secret Santa, if you know, you know. If you're on the Knights and Squires page, you would have heard about it. So definitely sign up. When's the deadline to sign up there, Brother John?
Let's see. I was looking at things. So we're going to keep this thing going until mid-December. But obviously, the sooner you get in, the sooner you create your wish list, and then we'll pick a date somewhere in there to actually match you up randomly with someone. We don't have any say in that. It just spins the old random button and gives you another brother. And again, we've set it up so that we don't get synced up. We will definitely sync up with someone else on the list. So, looking forward to that. Awesome. Yeah. Cool. And then of course, this is open for everybody. So once you got that link, share that with everybody. Share it with your other brothers. Share it with friends, family, pets, neighbors. Everyone's
We'll share it on our page. Let's share it on our page.
Oh, it's going out there. Oh, after this, it's going on all the Facebooks and all that. So
On the TikTok?
on the TikTok.
Let's put it on the TikTok. Yeah.
Why not?
Get it out. Yeah. Do it.
Sounds so old. Okay, let's go on to the next topic for tonight. Tonight's next item of agenda is our tarot card of the week. Getting some feedback. Are we getting that from Joe? Are we getting that from...
I am standby. Let's see if this is better. Hold on a second.
Yes. Yeah, it's you, Joe.
We're going to stop charging our Tesla. How's that?
Much better.
Okay, so when I charge my
Oh
Tesla,
my gosh.
my circuit breaker box like vibrates.
Are you trying to flex? Sorry, my Tesla is just so awesome. It's making
No, I think my house is going to catch on fire one day from the amount of amperage that it's pulling out of my circuit breakers.
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah, so if my house burns down, you know why. Because I'm stupid. But yeah.
Was it incense? No, it was charging his Tesla.
My Tesla was charging.
Golly dang. Well, thank you for not ruining the show. I appreciate it.
Right on, right on.
Awesome. Okay, tarot card of the week. Let's go to... I have a skeleton deck, and so right off of Etsy. Probably my new favorite deck right now. My new favorite thing ever. We're going to do the card pull of the day. We're going to do one card pull, and it will be including reversals, uprights, reverse, everything. And the card is, do a cut, strength inverted. So I can't really focus that well with this camera, but it's your normal petting of the lion, but reversed. So tell us about strength reversed. RJ.
Well,
Pretty
I
straightforward.
mean, so it helps people, I think, to understand that reverse cards, number one, it doesn't always mean a bad thing.
Right.
It's really just like occasionally, I guess there is that connotation, but strength, the card itself is pretty explanatory. If it's upright, it's about all of the possible strengths really you could have across the different, I guess, archetypes that the tarot deck has, whether that's wands, cups, pentacles, swords. But so like you think about things like your ability to get somebody to do something, or your sheer amount of empathy. Like you've got a lot of like real personal strength.
Personal strengths, right.
Yeah. But if it's reversed, you're looking at like intrinsic qualities. So it's not like you're weak. It's more of like the strength card is, you're going to look at I prefer to look at it like the strength card upright is your strength outward, your exo strength. Right. And then if you have it reversed, I look at it as like your more intro strength. So your introverted strength. So things like things that your passions, your faith, things like that. But there are, of course, like in Waite's interpretations, he talks about things like self-doubts,
Insecurity.
or
insecurities. I like that. It's a good word choice for that. Yeah, I like to see it sometimes as weaknesses too, or something that's holding you back from externalizing your own personal strengths. Right? Maybe you're nervous about a presentation coming up. Maybe you're getting ready to have an uncomfortable conversation, so you don't feel like you have the fortitude there that you normally do. So there's something that's holding you back.
Yeah, I think about it oftentimes. The tarot is kind of interesting. Do you remember you made a slide once, John, about it has to do with the factory, the Masonic factory?
Yeah.
Right? Like you had how you get a guy to go from profane to dues paying active member. And there's a lot of different paths there. And if you just look at anything on the path of life, right, like a goal perhaps, along the way you have waypoints, and sometimes there are things that you will not foresee on the path because of whatever reason. But like in this respect, like you mentioned, this ability to look at a self-doubt or something like that, or maybe you're nervous about a presentation, looking at it through a lens like this allows you to go, let me take a bird's eye view of this and look at my workaround, kind of in a psychological way. And,
Examination,
so
right?
and so I always look at tarot as like, I always go back to your slide for whatever reason. Like, it's just in my head. Like it's like the thing when I think about a path to get somewhere. So kudos to you for that, for burning it into my head. But
It worked.
It works. It's a good examination of there it is. Yeah. So you've got, like all of a sudden you might be thinking, oh, what is this thing that's holding me up? Well, could it possibly be anything like, am I having some self-doubts here? And then how do I overcome that self-doubt?
Bottlenecks. It's all lean.
Mm-hmm.
It's all Kaizen.
Ooh, you should make a lean tarot.
Oh, don't tempt me, bro.
Be like 4 cards.
Because we don't need all 78. We've leaned out the process.
We don't need all of them.
That's funny.
Say he's at 6 cards.
Double side them.
It's 7-minute abs. All right. Well, it is December 1st. So you know what time of year that is? It's the most wonderful time of year. That's right. It is not the holiday season, but annual communication season. That's right. You're going to learn all about the joys of officer elections, installations, business, and all that fun stuff that goes with that. And this topic came up not because we love them so much, but also because Joe loved them so much in the past week or a couple weeks. He's been all over the place, and not 1 but 2 grand annual communications, and also talking about his annual communication coming up tomorrow. Yeah. So, Mr. Traveling Man, let's talk, man.
Yeah.
You've been, every time I saw you on Facebook, you were at a different grand event with different cards, and you were busy.
Cards,
you were busy.
Lots of things, cards going up and down, lots of things going on with the things, and we should probably talk about that because I know, talking to brothers in our groups and in our circles, there's many different ways to skin this cat. So I'm just going to talk about the ones that I know of, but would love to hear from everybody on the way that they do things, because everybody does things a little bit different, sometimes better, sometimes not. But so let's start with grand annual communications, the big ones, right, where the important people meet and make important decisions. Mm-hmm. The big turkeys, where they make things happen. They make the masonry happen, right? So
they grand are turkeys, aren't they?
And I'm trying to be positive flow, and
there's some really cool turkeys out there.
Jive turkeys, but no. Grand annual communication. So I was blessed to go to 2 of them, to 2 jurisdictions that I'm a member of. So at the beginning of November, I went to the Grand Annual Communication for the Grand Lodge of Virginia, and was super jazzed to go because I was master this year. So in Virginia, 1 member of each lodge gets a vote at the big Grand Annual Communication. It's normally the master, or a proxy, or the senior warden, or the junior warden. So one of the pillar officers. They ask that all pillar officers go, but there's only one voting card for that. So I got to do that, which was fun. Get to hold my card in the air or keep it down. Really exciting. So went to that. The following week, I went to the Grand Annual Communication of the Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia. And I also got a card there too.
But you're not a past master.
So they gave So it was interesting. So they gave me a card to vote on resolutions and approvals for things. I was not allowed to vote in the election of officers.
Ah, gotcha.
So so more people in the room were eligible to vote on the budget or this committee report, that kind of thing. But then when it came down to elections, they do things a little bit differently. So we'll talk about those differences. So got to see 2 of them. They were run very differently. Lots of different types of business. I won't get into the nuts and bolts of the businesses, but they were handled very differently. So it was kind of a surprise. I was expecting one thing and I saw something else. But again, it's the hoity-toities in the room,
So, I mean, the big takeaway is it is 99% administrative, right? This is not where you go to learn all the mysteries of Freemasonry and everything. This is where you go.
Let's put this out there. There is no masonry done at a Grand Lodge.
That's true.
It sounds bad, but it's the truth. This is not, and I've heard grandmasters, past grandmasters that we're friends with, they say it. The Grand Lodge is not meant to do masonry, right? They're there to administer the craft, right? Lodges
Keep the lights
job
on.
are to make masons, right? And do masonry.
And when did that change?
There comes Robert
Okay,
out of left field.
This is bullshit.
Right.
Go.
You know, okay.
Hold on.
I mean, I just have to acknowledge the fact that when you have Grand Communications, the pilgrimage to Grand Lodge, we have such a prime opportunity for the Grand Lodge to invest in its membership by saying, hey, come on down, see how this works administratively. If you want to change the way things work, this is how you do it. And oh, by the way, if you want more education, this is how you can make some headway and start influencing people to, you know, think your way about education, or simply just offer any kind of lecture slash research thing, or even a leadership class or something within the Grand Lodge session weekend. This is one thing where I think Grand Lodge of Illinois has done at least something, right? Like, we have annual communications on Friday, Saturday, at the weirdest time, which is the first Tuesday. The first weekend after the first Tuesday of October every year. And so we gather. Communications is from like 8 to noon. We break for lunch. And then starting at 1:30, there's Illinois Lodge of Research. The leadership committee is doing a thing on inspiring, new leaders. The membership committee is like, hey, here's some, like, we've got a speaker who's going to talk about how to engage members. Like, there's a lot of opportunity. And if Grand Lodges aren't grabbing a hold of that, trash.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool.
Well, I mean, let's call it as we see it. That is, I would have to say, the minority of most Grand Annual Communications. I remember one year when we went to the Grand Lodge of Virginia's annual communication. They did have a speaker. It was a Mason. I think it was 2 years ago. He was a Mason out of the jurisdiction, but he was a Medal of Honor recipient, and he talked about leadership. And I mean, that was, I think it's still on our YouTube page, on the Grand Lodge's YouTube page. It was an awesome speech. That was the first time I had ever seen a program of any type. And I know John was going way before I was, but I never saw a program where everybody in the room got to sit down and listen and learn something. That was the one and only time I've seen that. So that was kind of neat, but I think that's the exception and not the norm, Yeah,
but it's still administrative. I'm trying to think of a parallel too, like comparing this, like you have Disney cast members in the parks, but then you have like the Bob Igers at the top that really, they don't walk the parks necessarily. They're there to just make sure that bills are paid, hopefully strategic planning, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But the actual Grand Annual Communication is again 99% administrative. Yeah, you'll hear some titles and you'll hear some, you'll see some fun things, buy some swag, but for the most part, it's making sure that the Grand Lodge operates.
Well, going back to
I just had a question. I mean, I think another prime opportunity for education, right, is really, it's education for me. I don't know, some guys would probably fall asleep, but you ever read those grand orations from the Grand Orator? Like, they're probably in your old Grand Lodge proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
Those addresses are like pages long, super cool speeches that are inspiring and magical. Sometimes they're a little, heavy on the religious side of things, but I mean, it was educational. It was real close to esoteric. You know what I mean? It was really kind of cool stuff. And I'm just wondering, like, if you guys still have an orator, if somebody does anything, have you seen it? Because
Virginia does not have a Grand Orator. Now, I'm a member of jurisdictions that does have a Grand Orator, and I've heard some of those speeches. They are, to your point, they're super spiritual. They're super awesome. They're not like boring committee reports. It's actually, a takeaway speech that you can put in your pocket and say this was actually awesome. But yeah, I mean, did we ever have a grand orator, John, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm sure someone in Virginia will correct me.
Yes, please do, YouTube peoples. But yeah, no, not that would be awesome. But yeah, going back to what John was saying, it's 99% administrivia. People get awards. There's lots of awards handed out, for being awesome at one thing or another. Brother Patrick said Florida has some amazing grand orators. Awesome. Yay, Florida. 2 points for you. But back to the mundaneness of it all. And I like how you said pilgrimage, Robert, because some people are super jazzed to go to Grand Lodge, right? This is my first year at Grand Lodge. This is super great. And then they get there and it's like, they listen to 6 hours of committee reports and they're like, wow, this is not as fun as I thought it was going to be.
There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype building up to it.
There is.
I think some of that is the fault of some of us who are overzealous, right? Like, I love grand communications. I always go. It's a huge thing for us. Yeah, I'm part of committees and things, but I go because I usually am very active at the Grand Lodge level in terms of resolutions and things, right? Like, I go to hear how people vote on something I helped write. You know what I mean? And then I get to hear people argue about how I'm a terrible person or something. They're like, whoever wrote this is terrible. I'm like, it's right at the top of the thing. But you know what I mean? Like, so we're invested to go. But we're invested to go because we want to change the way things
Right. I mean,
work.
you got to play the game.
Yeah. And so I think there's kind of like some of us who do this, we think about it and we're like, oh, this is a really great opportunity. But, it's it's short-sighted of some of us, because I know for a fact that there are Grand Lodges out there where, let's just say Joe decides to write a piece of legislation and submit it by the deadline. Well, here in Illinois, they have to act on it. They have to either say we're holding it over, or they have to say we're going to vote on it even if it's stupid. And it goes to the Grand Lodge committee. What they do is they say we either recommend it or we don't recommend the adoption or passage. They give their recommendation, just like a somebody who wants to join the lodge, right? The investigation committee gives their recommendation, but that's all they say. And then the constituency votes. And but we know that, in some jurisdictions, I don't know how it works over there, but I know in some jurisdictions, guys submit legislation and the Grand Lodge is like, throws it in the garbage, and they just send you a letter that says, yeah, we're not bringing that up. And you're like,
so,
but you have
not to get specific, but that's an excellent point you're making.
A little close to home.
No, I'm speaking in pure generalities. Of
Hypothetically.
No, what you were saying does sound like a much more democratic process, right? And I think we're a little bit spoiled in general because a lot of us expect out of our Freemasonry a democratic process. But in a lot of places, it's not. And it sounds terrible, but the reality of it is that Freemasonry is not a democracy in 9 out of 10 circumstances. It's an autocracy, right?
By design.
By design, right? You have an autocrat
good or bad
for a period of time. And a lot of the laws and rules surround that autocrat and not so much the will and pleasure of the lodge, right? So it really depends on where you go. I'm a member of so many jurisdictions, we have no idea what Robert was talking about. But to that point, yes, it does make sense that if someone writes a piece of legislation, that it should, unless it's written in crayon and the R's are backwards and stuff like that, it should go to the floor, I think, and let the brethren decide. If you follow the format, that kind of thing, it should do that.
I mean,
now
we've had guys put up legislation that everybody literally WTF'd on, right? They were like, what is this? And literally, the reaction from the crowd when they brought it up was so much that the dude who proposed it will go up to the mic and they'll be like, I'm withdrawing. And then we're all like, okay, good. That just freed up 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so it is super democratic. It's a fair process. And even when there's, we introduced something this last year that I was like, maybe they could have some pushback on this. And sure enough, Grand Lodge called us and they said, well, what are your concerns about this thing? And we said, well, we just want to make sure that this is being transparent for the membership. And they were like, yep. Okay, we just wanted to check. Yeah, it'll go up and we'll vote on it.
Nice.
You know, it got majority, but it didn't get 2/3. So,
So let's talk about that. That's a great segue into the actual voting. You know, voting works in many different ways in many different jurisdictions. You've got jurisdictions like the ones I'm a member of, where you get a card, red card, or an orange card, or a green card, many different cards, right? Whoever's the voting delegate gets a card, which they're meant to hold up or keep down. I know jurisdictions that use electronic voting where they get a, like a little clicker like the Senate and the House of Representatives do, where they vote and their vote goes on the screen. You don't see names, but you know how many votes are tallied. There are jurisdictions where all the pillar officers get a vote, right? So each lodge gets 3 votes at least. There are jurisdictions where past masters, if you're a past master of any lodge in that jurisdiction, you get a vote too. So, you know, depending on which jurisdiction you're a member of, it could be 1 vote per lodge for however many lodges you have, or it could be, you know, dozens of votes per lodge, depending on who shows up that day. So it really, you know, offsets the, you know, how things get voted on, how many votes it takes for something to pass, how many makes a quorum. I don't know if in your jurisdictions, if you guys see this, but one of the first things they do is say, hey, we have a quorum. We have X number of lodges here that signed up and we have enough people to do the thing and do the business. I've never seen one where we didn't have a quorum, you know, whether it's my jurisdiction or somebody else's.
Yeah. Haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's been it's been interesting. Like, I don't know about some of y'all, but we have a bylaw in our Constitution that essentially says that if any constituent lodge fails to appear at Grand Lodge for 2 consecutive years, they lose their charter.
Whoa.
It's zesty. So, I like it.
Yeah. And I thought, I'm like, 2 consecutive years? You give them 2 years? Like, to me, I'm just like, 1 year? Like, what's your excuse, bro? You've got like 80 members minimum, probably.
You had one job.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
To drive. Just weird.
No, that's spot on. I can tell you in my past experiences being a delegate, there's no repercussions if you don't show. You know, and depending on what jurisdiction you're in, you know, votes get tallied very particularly, you know, and in some places they do not. You know, it's more of a, you know, what's the color of the sea out there?
How does it feel? How does it feel to me?
Right. Where's the vibe? You know, which is weird to me. But again, you got to step out of that democratic mindset because we are not.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled by, you know, well, I don't know. counting votes and all that. It's a crazy idea.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it depends.
All right, so we're voting on resolutions. We've got the, you know, the introductions and all the awards.
Oh no, we didn't talk about introductions. No, let's talk about that. Is my favorite part.
Do you know that? Did you know they have introductions at these grand annual communications? Boy, do they have introductions!
Oh, my lordy! So first year,
yeah,
you go first.
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in to say, like, the first year I went, that was the biggest shock to my system. Was there I am ready to have great fellowship with brothers from all over the state, and before, you know, the first like half a day of like literally it's hours in the beginning of, you know, making sure everything's tiled and ready to go, but then they introduce grand delegates from other jurisdictions, right? So you have all the usual ones that you would expect from your jurisdiction, and they get settled and put in their chairs and ready to get to work. But before any good work happens, there's the formal introductions. And when I say formal, I mean processions from the back of the room, conducted, by a grand officer to then formally introduce their title of, Grand Chaplain from the jurisdiction of Illinois, that is usually an outsider, and then that would be enough. But no, they let the person have a chance to talk while everyone else is in their seats waiting for the show to start. The representative from the other jurisdiction gets a chance to come up there. You maybe present a gift. Often presents a gift to the Grand Line. It's an event. It is, and of course, it's nice to give everyone their honors and pay their respects to their dues and the rank of their position. But come on, like, we've got work to do. It is very drawn out. I would argue it's a little anachronistic in the sense of the pomp and circumstance of it all, right? We're all brothers. We're all on the level. So just make sure we've got a whole bunch more levels in the back for all these guys with gold collars.
Do you remember, you ever watch like a cartoon or whatever medieval show, and the delegates from around the realm come to the king,
Yeah,
their best offering?
that's what it's like.
Here's my best goat, Grandmaster. And this guy's like, oh, here's my whatever, right? And then like the youth groups are like,
I present you my daughter and 20 bales of hay.
My queen's daughter.
Behold, the Job's daughters. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I mean? Like, it is just bizarre.
It is bizarre.
It is
not
anachronistic. Yeah.
It's not even the the pomp and circumstance. I get everybody is loving everybody, and you got to show the love. I get it. But the first year I went, to John's point, I after the first hour of introductions, I'm like, how many more people are here waiting to be introduced? So just for, poops and giggles, I decided to walk out of the conference hall and go to the bathroom. And then I walk outside and I see a line of people waiting to get introduced. And I was like, holy crap. So I timed it that day. 3 hours of introduction. 3 hours of introduction.
You should have just squeezed in line.
I stayed in the bathroom for 45 minutes. Because it was more fun there. But yeah, 3 hours of introductions.
Wow.
Yeah, I just picture Joe like in the bathroom, like spraying dudes with cologne on their way out, like just to hang out.
He's got the hot towels.
Yeah.
Like some gum.
Towels out of the automatic machine. I'm folding them up and handing them to people. Here you go. Have a great day. Would you like a mint? Like a mint. Yeah. So introduction.
They do introductions.
They do.
Yeah. What else do they do, Joe?
Reports.
Committee reports.
Okay, so kudos to jurisdictions. I'm going to stop picking jurisdictions in particular. Kudos to jurisdictions that do I have one here? It's I can't reach it. That print out their committee reports and give them to you as soon as you get there, and don't read 50 pages of committee reports. And they say, hey, read it on your own, like a grown-up does, and then we'll vote on it at the end of the day. So in jurisdictions where I've been a delegate, you get this big stack of committee reports, and it has lots of reports, got budgets and important things and education and membership. I love it. All the committee reports. But you get to go read it. And then you come back the next day and they say, does anybody have any questions or anything to discuss about the committee reports? No, let's vote on the whole book. One vote. Cool. Done. Now, I've been to jurisdictions where they print out a very thick committee book with reports in it, and then they read every single one at a time, and then you vote on these committee reports one at a time. So an entire day is spent listening to committee reports. So
that's rough. I mean, I think there's a benefit to reading those reports, but the problem I think that is just inherent in Masonry is that most of us who have to write those reports are verbose, and we like to talk, and we use we try to do this eloquent language, which really draws things out. It's not like I could just, 10 bullet points, right? Like that's maybe what we need, Maybe we should do at the top of all of the committee reports, like the TLDR, and then it says detail, and then it could be like 8 pages, right?
So it's interesting. That kind of what I'm thinking of when I'm hearing these committee reports. Like at Amazon, they have the way they do decision making at the board level is that if you want to propose anything, you do have to put your thoughts on paper, and so they expect at least 6 pages of stating your point, stating your position, why we should why we should make a certain decision to invest or divest from something. The beauty of this, though, is when you go to the board, if you haven't read all the things that were being proposed, you don't get a vote. Like, you are expected to come in having done your homework. And again, these things are already typed up anyway. So one, there's no need to read them. Two, we're all grown adults, right? We can read those on our own time, and then get to work. Like, get down to work. Let's stop wasting everybody's time. Again, this is where, we've talked about administration of the Blue Lodge business. A lot of that could be done much simpler, because like every other organization has figured out ways to do things without reading minutes and so forth. But again, this is just yet another example of where this could be improved.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. To your point, Joe, like Illinois does, they say, well, the head of such and such, there's only a few key reports that come out that they do call attention to. One is like foreign jurisdictions, one is our budget committee, those kind of things. And really, they just get up there and they say, things look good. 1, 2, 3. I move for the adoption of this report. Somebody seconds, and it's done. So we do that for like 4 of the reports, but then, like you pointed out, into day 2 or somewhere around there, they just blanket accept, the education report, the membership and the leadership report. So it's better that way, I think, rather than having to read them all.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, we are all grown-ups. And if you're going to take the time and our money and print the damn things out, we'll read them.
Yeah.
You don't have to read it to me. It's not story time, and I don't like story time. I'm 40 plus years old.
Guys, does your home jurisdiction send you all the resolutions and the committee reports like a week before Grand Lodge?
So no, not all. So, and this I've just seen as being master this year. So about a month or 2 before, the secretary and the master got what they call the call to Grand Lodge, and it's got all the resolutions that are going to be presented. Sometimes it's a lot of them, sometimes it's not very many, and then just a general highlight of the big things, like you said, the budget, membership numbers, the important numbery statistical things. But then that's it. All the other stuff is status quo.
That's also... I'll just add to that and say that that's still not the most efficient way of communicating that ahead of time. Specifically, if you're really interested in the resolutions, that is not sent out to the general membership by default.
So my understanding was, and that's a great point, my understanding was it was given to us with the express decision, the expressed intent of, you need to bring this to your lodge and you guys need to discuss it, which we did.
Right,
which,
you did.
I was super excited. I'm like, I get an orange card, I get to vote. So let's talk about this and how does the lodge vote?
Okay, not everyone's as cool as you, Joe. So let's be clear about that, right? But let's be clear. That is a horrible way to communicate. Laws are being changed, right? Because if I don't know about it ahead of time as a member and I show up and I'm like, what is this? Like, I wish I had known this ahead of time. I would have told my voting delegate to say no. Where are they? I don't know. They didn't show up, or I can't find them in the sea of, people with aprons. Because
it's
again,
like
that's
Congress.
Well, but see, unlike Congress, Congress actually has to publish, the text. They sometimes do it at the last minute and say they read 1,100 pages, but that's a different conversation. Yeah, I'm with you there.
So, we get it. Okay, the entire constituency, any master mason in the state of Illinois that has their email in the Grand Lodge database gets 2 documents. They get Grandmaster reports, which is like the 4 or 5 reports, and then they get the entire typed up Grand Lodge proceedings, which includes
Must be nice.
details of expulsions and suspensions, things that are going to be brought up. And we get that like about a month before.
Must be nice.
And so literally, I print that sucker out, I read it all, and like I've got my notes when we get to that stuff, and I'm like,
That's great.
You know,
I mean, that is super cool.
you know?
I will say kudos for your jurisdiction for doing that. It's very transparent. It shows good leadership.
Yeah.
It's timely, right? You have plenty of time to look at it, read it, act on it, think on it, sleep on it. I mean, that's great.
That's the whole idea. You
Right.
know? But I just don't know why more Grand Lodges don't
for
operate
you.
that way.
Good for you, Robert. Good for you.
Well, hey, you know, I live in a very libertarian Grand Lodge state. We'll say.
What?
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What else do they do, Joe?
So before they get to the big things, there's definitely banquets.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But wait. There's food at a Masonic event.
There's food. Yeah,
I don't believe
and
it.
this spans the gamut, right? So this goes back to one of the things I wanted to mention first. Some grand annual communications happen in these really amazing Grand Lodge buildings. Some happen at hotels with conference centers and stuff like that. Some happen in other large Masonic buildings and stuff. But so yeah, all this to say, it depends on where you're going to have your grand annual communication. That will determine the type of fare that you have. You can have your typical hotel conference food, black tie, white tie, all that good stuff. Or you can have, or you're going to Denny's in between stuff, you know, and stuff in your face before the next committee report. So banquets, yay.
Is that your dog?
Yeah. She don't want to be here no more. Here she is. What?
She's now on the show.
Put your tooth away.
So good. That's like, yeah.
But even aside from the banquets, I'm sure the occasional brother will decide to have their own semi-private party, maybe in their room or adjoining rooms, or
Those are called hospitality suites. Yes, hospitality suites are aplenty. So yeah, if you want to go hang and do the fellowship thing, you get to hang out with brothers that you haven't seen in a while, and take your shoes off and go party with them. That is somebody had said it on YouTube. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, fellowship is probably one of the few reasons why I still go to grand annual communications, to see bros I haven't seen in a whole year because they live so far away, and just hang with them and break bread and go to Brazilian steakhouses and, you know, imbibe once or twice or thrice and yeah, have a great time. But yeah, banquets. And they cost money. The banquets cost money. I don't know about you guys if you've ever gone to free ones, but the ones in my jurisdiction, they cost money, and they're not cheap either.
Yeah, I will say this, like, I appreciate, I'm paying for the fellowship, I'll be honest, because
There you
usually the meal is not great, you know, but hey, I appreciate the effort. I'll say that.
yeah. And then
Do you guys, when you guys do your banquets, like, okay, so Grand Lodge banquet, end of night one, let's say new Grand Master gets elected. Here in Illinois, they install him at the Grand Master's banquet. So instead of doing it on the floor, they do it at the banquet that night. Do you guys do that?
No. So in Virginia, so I'll speak to Virginia and DC. So, well, DC is easy. DC has their grand annual communication where they have elections. And then the following weekend, actually this weekend, is when they'll do their installation and their Grand Master's Ball, where, you know, everybody's all all gussied up and pretty, and everybody looks great, and they have a lovely dinner, and then they do installations there. In Virginia, installations are the last piece of business at the Grand Lodge. So in the hotel conference room on the very last day after they close Grand Lodge, you know, do all the Masonic ritual stuff, then they open the doors and they have an open installation of officers. But it's right there on the spot. There's no wine and merriment and, you know, finger foods and the like. It's just installation.
Gotcha. All right, so that pretty much summarizes most, not all, but most of what happens at your grand annual communications. And yet I'm intrigued, Joe, because you said that tomorrow is your lodge's annual.
Yeah.
So tell me about your lodge's annual communication.
So there's it's definitely shorter than 3 days. We're planning for about a good hour of an annual communication, yes, but it is our last communication of the year. And this is where we close up shop, here at the Blue Lodges in Virginia. We do all the committee work. We find out how much money we have, how many members we have. We do all those things that one does at the end of the year. We close down all the committees. We do what's called in Virginia, we do a Lodge of Sorrow, where we do a memorial service for all the brothers that we've lost for that year. I know, it's sad. I know. And then we move into election of officers. And you know why she's crying, because I said election of officers. And so we get to the election of officers. Yep. And so the brethren, again, we're still in a tiled lodge. That all happens within a tiled lodge. And we elect our officers. And tomorrow, as opposed to many other years, in other years we've had installation on another day, and it's open to the public, and it's during the daytime. Tomorrow we're going to move immediately into installation of officers right after our election. So we'll go to elections, install officers, take pictures, have refreshments, all that stuff. It'll be open. So we'll have quite a few guests and stuff like that, and family members and things like that. So it's a lot of the same things that happen at the grand annual communication, just on a much tinier scale.
Which is fascinating, because I've never heard them called annual communications at the lodge level. Oh. I mean, it's just your December stated. It's just like the meeting where you have the elections. And so I learned something new today. I mean, it makes perfect sense that you're doing all that, but it's not written down anywhere in Virginia code to call the last stated meeting of December an annual communication per se.
Yeah, we
but it makes sense.
In Illinois, we do here's our stated meeting, and then once we're pretty much done, we say, the master will say something along the lines of, I am now going to merge this meeting with our annual meeting. And then he merges into the annual. Officer reports, elections, and then they merge back into the stated, close, and then they have 30 days to
That's fascinating. And if that was apart and separate, to me, that would seem something that's summons worthy, right? That really we are closing the books out for the year. We are having elections. It's a kind of a big deal for the lodge to transition to the next stage. So maybe that's a really good time that we actually call the craft to come. I don't know. You got me thinking a lot about making that a little bit more formal, more pomp and circumstance at the local lodge level to help with that transition.
Look at that. We got thinking.
Yeah. But so, Robert, you're saying that at one point they actually say we're now moving into the annual part, and then you come back to the stated part. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah. So our November meeting is our annual meeting. So we call it our annual meeting, even though it is just a stated. But then in the midst of it, we merge into the annual communication. So it's real similar. I guess we just don't have it. I guess we don't blanket. The bigger umbrella is not the annual communication. It's kind of inside. It's a Kinder egg of sorts.
It's like an onion.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably, right? Because you don't ever open up a Kinder egg and you're like, yay, reports!
I'm sure there's some Mason somewhere.
I'm going to 7-Eleven right after this show. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of Kinder eggs.
Have those ready for tomorrow.
An audit report.
All right. Well, we are at that time of the show where we've talked at length about grand annual communications. some things that Joe's calling annual communications, and then how it's done in other jurisdictions as well. So let's get right to it and wrap things up. Let's start with Robert. The question of the day is, should grand or local annual communications stay the same, be changed, or altered in some other fashion? Go.
I think they're just going to continue to evolve. I would really like to see more and more Grand Lodges around the jurisdictions, at least here in the United States, to become more transparent, be more democratic. Our Grand Masters to take a stance of, yes, why this has always been this, done this way, where it's benevolent dictatorship. There are still rules, and those rules need to be followed by each and every person. If you want to exhibit the ability to be on the level, then you need to act on the level as well. We talk about being condescending, bringing yourself down to the level of the other people around you, and to remember that though you are elevated above your peers for a time, it is by them you are elevated, right? And so if Grand Lodges really want to get the buy-in, I think, from their constituency, they need to offer things like additional programming for education, additional programming, maybe sponsoring a lodge of research for their annual communication. They need to have vendors there selling things. Your Grand Secretary needs to be there and perhaps have a workshop where he answers FAQ all day long. Do something like this that really engages your membership and gives them a reason to go. And if you want more people to show up, maybe some Grand Lodges don't want people to show up, right?
Maybe that's why.
Right. But I think for the health of Freemasonry, we need younger folks to come in and make the changes they want to make, or at least try to do it, right? Because if you just throw up a sign, that's the first step. More people will go, oh, man, we could elect from the floor, or, oh man, we could do these, wild and crazy things. So I just, I hope they continue to evolve in a positive, more democratic, more involved way. I'd love to see more and more people go to Grand Lodge. First year Masons go, and I want them to have a good experience, not a negative one. So tell your Grand Lodges, man, get some good programming. That's all I can say. I mean, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. What about you, Joe? Annual communications, stay the same, change, or something in between?
Yeah, definitely not stay the same. And again, I'm only speaking from my experiences, having gone to a few of them. A lot of the things that Robert said sound absolutely phenomenal. Would love to see that. Not moving to Illinois to do that, but would definitely love to see that sometime in the near future. But definitely more transparency. Robert always has the great answers. More transparency. Just as Robert was talking, I was thinking, if we want to engage these younger members and give them a reason to go, other than watching introductions for 3 hours, why not have some of those workshops and stuff? Hey, for the regular Mason, or for the brother who doesn't get to vote, because in one of my jurisdictions, only one person from each lodge gets to vote. So what the hell do the other people need to go for? So maybe they can have workshops or programs, or put on a presentation, things like that. Robert mentioned, your lodge of research. A lot of states have one. We have 8 or 9 in Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Those guys need to be doing something. So bring one of them out, or 2 of them out. Have them do stuff, and maybe throw some fellowship things in there that are not, expensive black tie banquets that, again, with hotel food, which is not the creme de la creme. Maybe have a social hour, where everybody can kick back and meet each other and stuff. Again, that was still after, I think this is my 7th year going. The one reason I love to go is to see brothers that I've not seen in an entire year, and just go, hug it out with them and talk to them and see how they've been and stuff like that. That's one of the driving factors that I enjoy going, and maybe realize that it's 2022 and there's lots of things that we can do. And I'm not trying to be,
no, not at all.
But really, it's we're conducting business the same way they did in the 70s. Nothing's changed. So maybe take some advantages of things that have changed over the last 50 years and implement them. It'll be okay. Nobody will get hurt. Yeah, and be one of those cool kids when you grow up that get to stand and get introduced. So
yeah,
that's
go
my
get your titles and gold collars.
What about just real quick? What about moving to electronic voting? Because I can't stand the card thing.
At a minimum.
The card thing is insanity to me, right? Just a sea of cards, right? And it depends on how the voting. Do you get two different cards? Do you get one card? Who actually counts the cards? We don't know, right? Nobody knows. But yeah, electronic voting. So you jurisdictions that do electronic voting, right on. Kudos. Love it. Keep doing it. All the things.
Open source the software too.
Open source. And then last thing I'll say is TMR Secret Santa.
Woo! Hop on it.
Woo!
There you go. So make sure you head on over to, what is the URL? tinyurl.com/TMR Santa 2022. And that'll land you right here to sign right up. Anybody can sign up. Don't have to be a Mason. Don't have to be a male craft or anything like that. Just here for a good time. Yeah. At the end of the day, right? Annual communications. Yes, they absolutely should be changed to just be more streamlined, to be more effective at running the business, right? So that goes without saying. Obviously, whether it's electronic voting or whether it's sending out things ahead of time, being more digital, being more representative, more transparent, all those things are all included. And until those things happen, the other side of the coin is know the game. Like, know your rules. Know how not only your Grand Lodge laws operate, but also how the committees and how voting is done, right? Go to a few of these and observe and watch how business gets conducted, how business gets handled. And that'll set you in a better place for when you want to introduce that change. Don't hate the player, hate the game. You got to go in, you have to know the rules, you have to know how to introduce legislation, you have to be able to navigate that bureaucracy until we can really streamline it later. And so don't let that bring you down, right? Be part of the change, right? Be the change you wish to see in the world. And through perseverance, it'll happen. So with that, I want to thank you all very much for watching and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.